They say the past is carved in stone, fixed, silent, and immovable. But what if something from centuries ago wasn't meant to describe the past, but warn us of the future? In 1997, in the Carpathian Mountains of Eastern Europe, a group of spelunkers uncovered a sealed chamber beneath an abandoned monastery. Among the crumbling relics and the silence of ancient dust, they found a manuscript. Its leather cover was cracked, its pages were brittle. But one phrase appeared over and over. Anno 2092. At first, no one believed what they were seeing. The ink was faded. The language, some ancient dialect with traces of Latin, Old Slavic, and something unrecognizable. It took months to piece together a partial translation. But what emerged wasn't prayer or poetry. It was prophecy. The manuscript spoke of a year when machines would lose control, when the sky would darken not with clouds, but with something called synthetic night. And most disturbingly, it warned of a broadcast, a global transmission that would not be heard by ears, but remembered by minds. The document was unlike anything known from the medieval world. Diagrams filled its pages, abstract symbols, fractal-like drawings, and even what resembled circuit layouts. A team of scholars from Prague dismissed it as an elaborate forgery. But one linguist, Dr. Janos Mikovic, refused to let it go. He noticed that certain passages seemed to describe future events with eerie precision, including a solar flare that would occur in 2003, and did. He called it a temporal anomaly disguised as madness. Within a year, Dr. Mikovic disappeared. In the months that followed, reports began surfacing online. Strange signal disruptions, a tone repeating on shortwave radios, and emails from anonymous sources referring to something they called the Manuscript event. Most of it was dismissed as fringe conspiracy chatter. But in 2013, a hacker going by the alias Kiln published an audio file extracted from an encrypted military archive. The file contained only two things: a low rhythmic pulse and a digitally modified voice repeating one sentence. The broadcast begins at 0. That phrase had been in the manuscript. It was no longer just a relic. The manuscript had become a thread connecting accidents, disappearances, and psychological anomalies around the world. One patient in Belarus began sketching identical diagrams to those in the manuscript, despite never having seen it. A boy in rural Canada, after a coma, woke up speaking in what sounded like the manuscript's dialect. And in the Vatican's restricted archives, a historian anonymously confirmed the existence of a page labeled Codex Nullius, describing a year not yet born, but already warned. That year was 2092. Some began calling it the Echo Manuscript, but those who studied it too closely changed. One linguist reportedly burned every book he owned and sealed himself in a soundproof room. Another, a historian from Krakow, was found wandering the forest, barefoot, dehydrated, muttering coordinates. Each case had one disturbing detail in common. The victims had drawn the same symbol on their walls, a shape resembling an open eye, crossed out by 3 slashes. That symbol, too, appears on the final page of the manuscript, just above a single line. Silence is not absence. It is containment. In 2015, a low-resolution scan of one manuscript page leaked onto a fringe forum. It sparked chaos. Within hours, the site was shut down. But not before users dissected the page, noting that the diagrams corresponded almost exactly with antenna patterns used in early quantum radio experiments. Some believed the manuscript wasn't prophecy at all, but a receiver, something designed to capture information not from the past, but from outside linear time. The theory gained traction that someone, or something, had sent a message backwards, and the manuscript was its vessel. If true, it wasn't written in the 14th century, but planted there. That would explain the pages made from a strange, parchment-like compound, not found in any other historical texts, and why its ink showed no signs of age-related degradation under UV light. Whatever it was made from, it wasn't from any time we know. But perhaps the most chilling part wasn't what the manuscript said. It was what it didn't. Entire passages were blacked out in the scanned version, redacted by an unknown party. Where full sentences once existed, there were now blanks, punctuated by strange glyphs. And one line, barely visible, seemed to emerge only under digital enhancement. Remember this page. You will return to it when you forget yourself. Scholars who tried to reconstruct the missing sections reported disturbing dreams. Those dreams shared eerie commonalities. A tower surrounded by still water. A clock without numbers, ticking backward. A whisper in a language they didn't know, but understood. And in every dream, the same message. 2092 is the end of the broadcast. It became clear the manuscript wasn't just a prophecy. It was an activation mechanism, waiting for someone, or something, to understand it fully. And that moment might be drawing closer. The Vatican officially denied any knowledge of the manuscript. Yet internal memos leaked in 2018 told another story. One document, labeled Vox Silenti, Level Delta, described an object matching the manuscript's description, marked for indefinite containment. It referenced Project Nemoris, an initiative involving encrypted sound experiments, cognitive interference patterns, and predictive dream logging. That memo ended with a Latin phrase, Futura scripta sunt, sed non omnibus. The future is written, but not for all. Meanwhile, in northern Chile, an astronomer noticed an anomaly. A radio telescope picked up a brief signal, 1.3 seconds long. When converted to spectrogram, it formed a shape. That shape, identical to a diagram found in the manuscript's centerfold. It resembled a spiral, collapsing inward, like a black hole drawn by hand. Whatever had sent that signal, it wasn't random. It was encoded and deliberate. A university in Belgium attempted a digital reconstruction of the manuscript using AI pattern recognition. But halfway through the rendering process, the system shut down. No errors, no logs. The AI refused to reopen the project file. Later, it began writing its own messages in the comment fields of unrelated code. One simply read, "You are not cleared for the rest." The lab director resigned that week, citing compromised logic integrity. Who or what is trying to suppress this information? Is the manuscript a threat or a safeguard? In remote parts of Iceland, people report dreams of the tower, even without ever hearing of the manuscript. Others speak of a low hum they can't trace, heard only at 3:13 a.m., always 3:13. One researcher called it a memory that doesn't belong to me, but is waiting to. There's a growing belief among fringe theorists that the manuscript wasn't written at all, that it was transmitted, etched by someone under influence, a vessel for something greater, and its arrival wasn't meant for the 14th century. It was meant for now. Specifically, the decades leading up to 2092, the year the document references again and again. But not as a warning, as a threshold. Threshold to what? The manuscript never uses the word apocalypse. Instead, it refers to the reduction, a phase of dimmed consciousness, collective erasure, and auditory recursion. It suggests a collapse not of buildings, but of memory, language, self. A time when thought loops begin replacing free will. It claims the process is pre-broadcasted, meaning it has already begun. Some believe 2092 isn't the end, but the reboot, a recursive loop in human history where the slate is wiped clean, not by war, not by disease, but by saturation. Too much noise, too much data, until the only signal left is silence. And from that silence, something begins to speak. In audio engineering, there's a term, phantom frequency. It's when the ear perceives a tone that isn't technically present, created by overlapping vibrations. Some experts now claim the manuscript emits a similar effect, not through sound, but pattern, that simply seeing its structure triggers auditory hallucinations. A few even report hearing numbers whispered in their dreams, sequences repeating endlessly, always ending in 2092. A former intelligence agent, writing under pseudonym, claimed in a forum post, "The manuscript wasn't meant to be read. It was meant to be found." According to him, versions of it have appeared elsewhere, painted into cave walls in Myanmar, etched onto bone fragments in Mongolia, and encoded in the chorus of a folk song recorded in 1904. All containing the same sequence, 2092. Silence, reversion, tower, end. So why don't more people know about this? Because something or someone is erasing the trail. Forum threads vanish. Archive links return 404s. Even academic citations referencing the manuscript are being revised, replaced with vague footnotes or retractions. A shadow is following the story, not to expose it, but to bury it. And yet the manuscript persists, in fragments, whispers, corrupted files. People all over the world report discovering pages, in used bookstores, in library donation bins, even inside walls during renovations. Always incomplete, always stained, but unmistakably real. As if the manuscript is replicating or waking up. In an interview long since scrubbed from the web, a neurologist described treating a patient who spoke in reversed syllables. The translation, once reversed, said, "The mirror cracks in 2092. The voice will come through." The neurologist's notes included a sketch the patient had drawn. It matched, perfectly, the final page of the forbidden manuscript. If these accounts are true, then we're dealing with something far beyond ancient prophecy. Something that defies chronology. A transmission sent out of time, maybe even from the other side of whatever lies beyond human consciousness. It's not just warning us of 2092. It's pulling us toward it. Digital forensics experts have identified repeating phrases in deep web audio files that weren't detectable by standard compression scans. Buried in the static was the phrase, "Prepare for re-entry." What's re-entering remains unclear. But the manuscript refers to it as the memory that was denied. An echo of something we once were and forgot. There's one final detail, easy to overlook. The manuscript's page numbering. It doesn't begin at 1. It starts at 0 and ends at 2091. There is no page 2092. No mention, no mark. Just a blank, unnumbered sheet, bound with the others. As if that page isn't meant to be read, but lived. So what happens in 2092? The manuscript doesn't say, but everything else points to it. The broadcasts, the dreams, the anomalies. It's as if something is preparing us, or testing us, for what comes after that silence. This isn't a countdown, it's a calibration. Memory itself is being tuned, globally, to expect an event no one understands. And once our minds are aligned, that final page may write itself in all of us. If the manuscript is right, we won't even know it happened. We'll wake up one day and something will feel different. Time will hum, voices will pause, and the stars will seem out of place, just slightly. Enough to notice, enough to forget again. Maybe that's why it was hidden for centuries. Not to keep it safe, but to give it time. Time to spread, fragment by fragment, page by page, through libraries, dreams, code. And now, through you. You've heard the story, you've seen the signs. But the final page of the manuscript, the one without ink, the one marked only by silence, isn't in a book. It's in a year, a moment still waiting. 2092, the forbidden page, the end of the broadcast.